Two videos for you today, you lucky or unlucky lot, depending on which way you're going to look at it. The first one's going to be about Emerson and, well, that particular transfer rumour, which seems to have resurfaced again because it died down initially because of the players, as we understand it, unreasonable wage demands. We'll get onto that in just a second. Then later on today, I'm going to be doing a video, which is, I think, a lot of it about Benrahma, but also on competition for places and how that's going to improve things for Benrahma and in turn for Antonio, and how it's going to liberate Fornal so he can play somewhere else. Mainly about Benrahma, though, but that's for later on. For this one, Emerson. You may remember I did the video a day or two ago about Hans Vanaken. Is it Vanaken? Vanaken. That's how they say it. The commentators say Vanaken. Hans Vanaken. He wants to come to West Ham, it seems. Now, I tried to make the point in that not every signing we can make can be a young player. Not every signing has to be made with a view to them being around for 7, 8, 9 years. Look, we've had some really good players at West Ham. Lanzini, Cresswell, Antonio, to name but three, have been here for a long time. But not everybody does. And sometimes a signing that sticks around and does well for you and provides a bit of cover for 2 or 3 years is still a good signing. And maybe I look at Emerson like that. He's no world beater, Emerson. He really isn't. He's clearly not good enough to play for Chelsea on a consistent basis, or they wouldn't have consistently bought left backs. They wouldn't have put him out on loan last year. But he's not useless either. And when I look at him, I think, do you know what? He's sort of pacey enough. He's quite good at interceptions, plays the ball down the line quite nicely. He enjoys tackling, seems to enjoy defending as well, and he's technically quite good. That's all I would say. He's an okay player. I think when I look at him, I think what's missing is, I think, a really, really good and accurate cross. I've seemed to remember him taking some corners at some point. It never struck me as somebody that was particularly good at doing that either. He has his deficiencies. He's not without his limits, but if he's going to cost about 12 million quid, I think in today's market, that ain't too bad. I made the same comparison when I said Vanaken coming in is okay, particularly when you look that Nottingham Forest might be about to pay sort of 45 million or whatever it might be for Morgan Gibbs-White. Now, I like Gibbs-White. Really good player. I'd love him at West Ham. But that's the price of a young, and let's be fair, unproven Premier League player. Personally, I think he'll play a few times for England. I think he's a really good player. But when you look at that and you look at the commitment over 5 years of the wages and whatever he's on, you're probably looking there at a sort of 60 to 70 million pound commitment. You bring a player in for 10 million quid over 2 or 3 years, it's nothing like it. And in the case of Vanaken, if you bring him in, he's not going to be on massive wages over at Club Brugge. In fact, the Club Brugge president said it'll be yesterday as you watch this, West Ham is no upgrade. West Ham's no upgrade for you. I think he sort of misses the point. There's no way he's on massive wages on them. They're trying to entice him to keep him at the club by giving him a new deal. And why wouldn't they? I mean, he's a really good and important player for them, but they're never going to be able to match Premier League wages. And a Premier League club like West Ham can actually blow Bruges out of the water in terms of wages without him even being remotely close to one of our top earners. I think if Nottingham Forest sign Gibbs-White, then he's going to be, all right, look, nobody's going to earn more money than Jesse Lingard at Nottingham Forest, but he's going to be up there, Gibbs-White, isn't he? So I think the outlay and the commitment, I think that's reflected. Are we getting a world beater? No. I think that's the same with Emerson there as well. David Moyes' comments, I thought they were quite telling as well. We've got to bring in some help for Cresswell. And I do like it when it says that. So that really tells a story. David Moyes is quite forthright. When he appraises players, he talks about players coming in. Because he'll often say players have got to come in, they've got to be better than the ones we have already. But actually, I think when you're trying to stretch whatever it is we've got to spend, let's call it 130 million for argument's sake. When you're trying to stretch that over 5 or 6 players, which is what it seems we're doing, I don't think you probably can all of those 6 players can be better than what's in the first team. I think you might be able to do 2 or 3, but then the rest are going to have to be squad players. And I think that's sensible. I really do. So his words are quite telling. He'll tell you when it's somebody better than the first team, but actually if it's somebody who thinks it's cover, then he'll say it's help for Aaron Cresswell. And Aaron Cresswell needs help. Forget Aaron Cresswell needs help, actually. The left back needs help. The left back position at West Ham needs some help there. And he can play there. Funny enough, I was actually thinking last night, I know I've already made this point a couple of times in very recent videos. I won't labour the point. But it's actually the left-footed player over on the left-hand side, and how Cornet at the start of the game against Viborg suffered because Soufal was right-footed. It took a while for it to sort of click. Well, actually, I think probably someone like Cornet would really enjoy playing with Emerson, because whilst Emerson might not have the best crossing in the world, he shapes a lovely ball down the touchline, if you know what I mean. He does dink the ball over for somebody, a fast winger that's going to make a run. Not something that Aaron Cresswell has had to deal with at West Ham in recent years, is somebody that's really quick. So, maybe Cresswell can do it as well. But what we don't need is every time Cresswell is unavailable, injured, or just serving a suspension. What we don't need is to be moving Soufal over there. Obviously, we've got Johnson that can play there as well, but wouldn't it be nice to have a proper left back there? Johnson's got his work cut out this season as it is to cover numerous positions. So, Johnson's got a lot on his plate, but I don't think he needs to be. We need a specialist left back, and maybe someone that's going to challenge Cresswell. Do I think Emerson will challenge Cresswell in terms of delivery? No, not really. I don't think he will. Do I think he'll challenge Cresswell in terms of defending and actually, staying in shape and playing along that line? I do. I really do. And again, I think when I mentioned with Vanaken that David Moyes probably had his eye on a few central midfielders and he was ready to spend big bucks on them, and all his first choices are gone. So he thought, you know what, let's get a stopgap. Let's get someone in for a couple of seasons and I'll keep the money. And I think he's probably doing a similar thing here when he's looking at the left-back situation. I think he's probably looking at the left-back and thinking, okay, maybe I can't get that prize left-back that I want. So maybe that'll be a priority signing for next season. Maybe he's thinking, you know what, next season I'll go and spend £30 million on a left-back. Can you imagine? £30 million left-back. I've just plucked that up. I just made that up. For now, why don't I get somebody in? And it wouldn't surprise me if Emerson came in and Emerson was around a little bit longer than Cresswell. So actually, maybe Emerson is not the guy to come in and be our first choice left back for years to come. Maybe he's actually our second choice left back for the next 3 or 4 years or something like that. The big thing that comes into it is the reason it broke down before was personal terms. Now, what I don't want to do is get in everybody that asks for more money for West Ham. Say, right, that's it, they want more money, go. That's part of negotiations. I don't blame a player for asking for more money. That wasn't my problem with Lingard. My problem with Lingard was the fact that he kept the carrot dangling for all that time. There was crossed hammers and chicken runs and everything else on his TikTok and Instagram page and the rest of it. He teased us and all the rest of it. I don't blame a player for going into negotiations saying this is what I want, but also I don't blame West Ham for walking away. But I also think it's quite good that the player and his agent have come back, and having tried it on, they've turned around and it appears that they've said, oh, okay, right, we'll possibly fall into line with your wage structure, which is right, because what you can't have, if you're not going to get your first choice or your second choice or that superstar left back that you want, and actually what you're going to go and do is get a squad filler, then realistically Emerson and his representatives have got to accept that wage. That's fine, and then he doesn't have to, but Emerson needs to decide whether he wants to play football or not, and I think that, I'll finish with that's probably the most promising thing about it. As I understand it, last season he wasn't unhappy that he wasn't playing football at Chelsea. He said, Chelsea, can you get me out on loan or whatever? They got him, went up to Olympique Lyonnais. He wants to play football. I think he's probably looking at it now thinking, well, actually, okay, I could stay at Chelsea on higher wages, or I can go to West Ham and I can play some football, or so he hopes anyway. And I think that's a good thing. And so I've got no problem with that. As I say, world beater, no, not at all. Squad player, yeah, why not? Get him in. No, not a bad transfer at all. But at our price, in terms of the transfer fee, and at our price, in terms of the wages, as long as it doesn't get silly, do you know what? It's one less problem that we have to deal with, and then we can focus on what is probably the last couple of positions that we've got to do before now and the end of the transfer. It sort of takes the pressure off, really, doesn't it? It gives us, whatever it might be, 10 days, something like that, to get a couple of transfers over the line. If we manage to pull off a win against Brighton, then, it starts to look a little bit rosy, doesn't it?